Picture this: gas stations with no gas, long lines of cars stretching down the street, and a sense of uncertainty in the air. This wasn't some post-apocalyptic movie scene, it was America in the 1970s. The energy crisis of the decade wasn't just a blip on the radar, it was a seismic shift that changed the way we live, work, and think about our future. Stick around, because this is the story of how a decade of chaos and change shaped the modern America we know today. 1. The golden age of V8 and the American dream before 1973, focus on cheap fuel, suburban expansion, and massive muscle cars. Before the mid-1970s, America was in the throes of a love affair with the automobile, particularly the powerful, gas-guzzling muscle cars that roared down wide, open highways. The country was riding high on cheap, abundant fuel, with gas prices hovering around 36 cents per gallon. This affordability fueled a booming automotive industry and a culture obsessed with speed, power, and freedom. The V8 engine, with its 8 cylinders rumbling in perfect harmony, became the heart of American performance cars. Models like the Ford Mustang, Chevrolet Camaro, and Dodge Charger were not just modes of transportation, they were symbols of status, adventure, and the American dream. Suburban expansion played a significant role in this era. As families moved to the suburbs, they needed cars to commute to work and school. The government invested heavily in highway construction, making it easier to travel long distances. This infrastructure boom, coupled with low fuel costs, encouraged the production of larger, heavier cars. The American automotive industry thrived, with manufacturers competing to produce the most powerful, fastest, and most luxurious vehicles. The culture of car customization also flourished, with enthusiasts tweaking their engines, exhaust systems, and body kits to create unique, high-performance machines. The American dream was intertwined with this automotive culture. Owning a big, powerful car was a sign of success and prosperity. It represented freedom, independence, and the ability to pursue one's desires. The open road became a metaphor for the limitless opportunities available in America. This period saw the rise of car culture, with drag racing, car shows, and road trips becoming integral parts of American life. The V8 engine, with its distinctive sound and impressive power, became a symbol of American ingenuity and ambition. It was a time when the future seemed bright, and the possibilities were endless. The muscle car was not just a vehicle, it was a statement, a dream, and a way of life. 2. The Yom Kippur War and the 1973 OPEC embargo, geopolitical reasons, the sudden cutoff of oil supply, and the shock to the U.S. economy. The Middle East has always been a hotbed of geopolitical tension, and in the early 1970s, a perfect storm was brewing. The Yom Kippur War, also known as the October War, erupted when a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel. The conflict was rooted in the ongoing Arab-Israeli dispute, with Arab nations seeking to regain territories lost during the 1967 Six-Day War. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, quickly became involved, providing military aid and strategic support to the Israeli forces. This involvement did not sit well with the Arab world, particularly the oil-rich nations that made up the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. In response to U.S. support for Israel, OPEC announced an oil embargo against the United States. The embargo was a dramatic move, aimed at leveraging the Arab world's most powerful economic tool, oil. The sudden cutoff of oil supply sent shockwaves through the global economy, but the impact was felt most acutely in the United States. Americans, accustomed to cheap and abundant fuel, found themselves standing in long lines at gas stations, often with empty tanks and frustrated expressions. The embargo was a stark reminder of the vulnerability of industrialized nations to disruptions in the global oil supply. The shock to the U.S. economy was immediate and profound. Gas prices skyrocketed, causing inflation to soar. The price of a barrel of oil quadrupled, leading to a surge in the cost of transportation, heating, and virtually every other aspect of American life. The embargo also exposed the country's heavy dependence on foreign oil, a reality that had been largely ignored in the years of post-war prosperity. The economic fallout was severe, contributing to a period of stagflation, a toxic mix of high inflation, high unemployment, and stagnant economic growth. The 1973 OPEC embargo was a wake-up call, forcing the United States to confront its energy vulnerabilities and prompting a shift in policy and public consciousness. The geopolitical reasons behind the embargo were complex, but the message was clear: oil was a powerful weapon in the arsenal of nations seeking to influence global politics. The Arab nations, through OPEC, demonstrated that they could use their oil reserves to exert pressure on Western countries, particularly those supporting Israel. This realization had far-reaching consequences, not just for the United States but for the entire world. It marked a turning point in global energy politics, highlighting the interconnectedness of international relations and the economy. The embargo also spurred a renewed interest in energy independence and alternative energy sources, setting the stage for future developments in renewable energy and conservation efforts. 3. Life in the gas lines and social chaos, psychological toll, gas rationing, gas rage, incidents, and the rise of the black market for fuel. The 1970s energy crisis plunged America into a period of unprecedented uncertainty and frustration. Gasoline shortages became a daily reality, with long lines at gas stations a common sight. People often had to wait for hours, sometimes even overnight, just to fill their tanks. The psychological toll was immense. Anxiety and stress levels soared as individuals grappled with the uncertainty of securing fuel for their daily commutes and essential activities. The constant worry about whether gas would be available created a sense of helplessness and despair among many Americans. Rationing systems were implemented to manage the scarcity, but they often led to more chaos than order. Odd-even license plate systems, where only certain plates could buy gas on specific days, were put in place. This created a sense of unfairness and frustration. People felt powerless, and the sense of community eroded as neighbors turned against each other. The situation was exacerbated by the phenomenon known as gas rage. Incidents of road rage, fights, and even violent altercations at gas stations became common. The stress and desperation of the times brought out the worst in people, leading to a breakdown in social norms and a rise in aggressive behavior. The black market for fuel thrived in this environment of scarcity and desperation. People turned to illegal means to secure gasoline, often paying exorbitant prices. This underground economy was fueled by the desperation of those who could not wait in endless lines or who were unable to secure gas through legal means. The black market not only exacerbated the shortage but also led to a rise in criminal activities. Law enforcement struggled to keep up with the illegal trade, and the situation spiraled out of control. The energy crisis of the 1970s was not just about the lack of fuel, it was about the breakdown of social order and the psychological impact on a nation. The decade left a lasting mark on America, reshaping its attitudes towards energy, consumerism, and social cohesion. For the rise of stagflation and economic crisis, how energy prices caused mass inflation, unemployment in Detroit, and the end of post-war prosperity. The 1970s energy crisis sent shockwaves through the American economy, triggering a phenomenon known as stagflation. This ugly combination of high inflation, stagnant demand, and rising unemployment was a stark contrast to the steady growth of the post-war era. The sudden spike in oil prices, caused by geopolitical events, acted like a tax on consumers and businesses alike. With energy costs eating into household budgets and production expenses, the overall demand for goods and services took a hit. Prices, however, didn't fall. Instead, they kept climbing, creating a vicious cycle of economic woes. Detroit, the heart of America's automotive industry, felt the pinch acutely. The city had long been a symbol of industrial might, but the energy crisis exposed its vulnerabilities. Gas-guzzling American cars, once a status symbol, became a liability. Consumers flocked to more fuel-efficient foreign imports, leaving Detroit's iconic manufacturers scrambling. The result was a wave of layoffs and plant closures. Unemployment in the city soared, and the economic ripple effects were felt far and wide. The once thriving middle-class communities around Detroit began to decline, marking the start of a long, slow recovery. The energy crisis also marked the end of an era of post-war prosperity. For decades, Americans had enjoyed a steady rise in living standards, fueled by a robust economy and affordable energy. But the 1970s upended this comfortable status quo. The sudden rise in energy prices disrupted supply chains, increased production costs, and led to higher prices for consumers. Businesses struggled to adapt, and many failed. The economic turmoil of the 1970s forced Americans to rethink their relationship with energy, setting the stage for the conservation and efficiency movements of the following decades. Moreover, the crisis exposed the fragility of the American economy's dependence on foreign oil. The sudden embargo and price hikes showed how vulnerable the country was to geopolitical events. This realization led to a push for energy independence and diversification. The crisis also spurred innovation in alternative energy sources and fuel-efficient technologies. In many ways, the economic upheaval of the 1970s set the stage for the modern energy landscape, where sustainability and efficiency are key priorities. The lessons learned during this tumultuous decade continue to shape economic and energy policies today. 5. The 1979 Second Energy Shock and the Carter Era, the Iranian Revolution, the Malaise Speech, and the federal 55 mph speed limit mandate. The Iranian Revolution in 1979 sent shockwaves through the global oil market. The new Islamic Republic disrupted oil production, and exports plummeted. This led to a sudden and severe energy crisis in the United States. Gasoline prices skyrocketed, and long lines formed at gas stations. The crisis was a stark reminder of America's vulnerability to foreign oil supplies. It also put immense pressure on President Jimmy Carter to address the nation's energy woes. Carter responded with a series of measures aimed at conserving energy and reducing dependence on foreign oil. One of the most visible was the federal mandate that set a 55 mph speed limit. The idea was simple: slower speeds would reduce fuel consumption. Critics mocked the limit, but it did help lower oil usage. The mandate also sparked debates about federal overreach and personal freedoms. It became a symbol of the government's efforts to manage the crisis. In July 1979, Carter delivered a speech that would become known as the Malaise Speech, even though he never used that word. He spoke candidly about the nation's economic and energy challenges. Carter called for a national renewal and urged Americans to conserve energy. The speech was well received at first, but its impact was short-lived. The crisis deepened, and Carter's approval ratings continued to drop. The energy crisis and the government's response to it became a defining issue of his presidency. The 1979 energy shock had lasting effects on American policy and culture. It accelerated the push for energy conservation and alternative fuels. The crisis also highlighted the need for a more diversified energy portfolio. In the long run, it spurred innovations in energy efficiency and renewable energy technologies. The 55 mph speed limit was eventually repealed, but the lessons learned during this period continued to influence energy policies for decades. The Carter era, marked by these challenges, left a complex legacy of both setbacks and progress. 6. The death of Detroit steel and the Japanese invasion, shift from large American cars to fuel-efficient imports, Honda/Toyota, and the long-term legacy of energy independence. Gasoline shortages and rising prices in the mid-1970s exposed a car market built around fuel-hungry, steel-heavy machines that priced themselves out of reach for many families. Detroit's hold on the big sedan and heavy truck era started to loosen. Models born from pressure, like the Vega and Pinto, tried to prove cheaper and lighter could still carry the American dream, but their reputation and sales faltered as reliability and fuel economy mattered more. Job losses followed. At the same time, Japanese automakers moved in with a different equation: fuel efficiency, reliability, and compact design that fit the daily needs of American drivers. People noticed. Toyota and Honda built production in the United States, shrinking delivery times and appealing to buyers who cared more about mile per gallon than showroom size. The Civic, the Corolla, and the Accord became common sights. Policy moves in the wake of the crisis reinforced the shift by rewarding efficiency and domestic resilience. The government introduced fuel economy standards. Automakers redesigned engines, adopted lighter materials, and leaned into smaller models to meet tougher targets. Japanese plants in the United States helped shorten supply chains and create lasting competition. The long-term legacy is a mixed one, not a clean victory lap for energy independence but a durable reorientation of what Americans expect from cars and energy. Detroit learned to move with the times. The era seeded lean manufacturing, global competition, and a culture of continuous improvement that echoed through every factory floor and showroom. Energy independence remained an evolving goal, but the crisis forever changed how cars are built and what they promise to deliver. As we wrap up our journey through the 1970s energy crisis, let's take a moment to reflect on the key points we've covered. This decade was a turning point, a time when America faced significant challenges that reshaped our energy landscape and, in many ways, defined modern America. We saw the impact of oil embargoes, the rise of energy conservation efforts, and the birth of new technologies aimed at reducing our dependence on foreign oil. These events not only changed how we use energy but also influenced our economy, politics, and daily lives. The 1970s energy crisis taught us the importance of being prepared and the value of innovation. It showed us that when faced with adversity, we can come together to find solutions that benefit everyone. As we look back, it's clear that the lessons from this decade are still relevant today. Energy remains a critical issue, and the choices we make now will shape our future. So, what can you do? Start by being mindful of your energy use. Small changes, like turning off lights when you leave a room or using energy-efficient appliances, can make a big difference. Stay informed about energy policies and support initiatives that promote sustainability. And most importantly, share what you've learned with others. Knowledge is power, and together, we can ensure that the lessons of the 1970s continue to guide us toward a more energy-secure future. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content on history and its impact on our world today. In our next video, we'll be diving into another pivotal moment in American history. Stay tuned, and let's continue exploring the past to understand our present and shape our future. Thanks for watching.